have a quorum. We have Linda Steinemitt on remote, and then Andrew Smarco, Sam Bell, Jeff Gates, and Carol Mueller here in the meeting room. This is the Community Preservation Committee meeting of July 17th. And echoing. So I have an agenda hidden behind here somewhere.
They have a printed out one.
Oh, good. So,
News
for
mail.
news and mail, there was no news, no new news, no new mail. Member inputs probably next.
The only input I have is in conversation with Jim Dugan, the town administrator, about something else. I brought up the Clean Lakes issue, which is on their radars, their radar screen. And I said, because they're looking at 3-year budgets, and I said, we will not have the money to fund them for 3 years.
Yeah.
And I thought about it because of the last meeting when, who was the fellow's name? Rob.
Or Bronx, yeah.
I think he was trying to feel us out and like, well, are we gonna get the money next year? And, it is fair to start early because we may not, do it. And if they do it, they need to do it with the, if there is money from the town, it should go through the, what's the term where it comes into the CPA and then go, from
Oh,
the town
yeah,
into the
blended
CPA to blended
funds,
fund.
yeah.
But, anyway, I don't think he knew the background. They're dealing with it.
Okay,
And he is, it's on the radar screen. He said, there's no, we have a 3-year cycle and there's not, I said, anyway. And I felt bad. I said, I'm speaking out of turn. I'm not speaking, for the committee, but yet that's an issue.
right.
Yeah, it's something that, the town has to fund, but this really isn't a sustainable funding source for it. So it's.
Right.
No, I think it should go back to the water department, which took all the conservation money.
Well, especially if you're starting to do it year after year after year, it becomes more of supplanting town funds or whatever that, you're taking on a line item.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and then the issue is it's maintenance. And
Right.
that's really not something.
Right, you
we're
do the
supposed to
initial
do. Yeah,
stuff
the
and
initial
then,
thing, but, yeah.
then when does it become maintenance?
Yeah,
Mhm.
so anyway, I apologize if I.
Oh, no.
no,
it's
Stayed
good,
on
good.
anyone's toes, but I
Good.
was- I was there and thought I'd take
Yeah.
the opportunity.
No,
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, especially I was curious when they said that Westford, and I tried to watch, they didn't have as many meetings online when they said that Westford stopped funding the Clean Lakes. And I would have liked to have seen that conversation to see, where they came up with that. Because I thought that was kind of interesting, whether it was the same thing, did they just keep coming back and coming back? But they're a lot stricter in Westford,
Well, they also have a lot of lakes.
yeah.
That I think, well, whatever.
Yeah, so, but it is something we'll have to,
Well, it may be, I was looking at a little bulletin about the Fletcher Library over there, and a little comment they had in there, our hours have been cut because of budget cuts. So Westford may be,
Oh yeah, I think the override failed
failed,
over there.
yeah,
they may be condensing. Yeah.
interesting. Any other member updates, what do we have?
I'm mixing this up, but for Linda's point of view, they're beginning to put the clapboard on 12 Robinson. It looks so good.
Good.
So, very pleased with, that.
It's coming along nicely.
Well, and that's, this
that's-
committee also,
yeah, it's,
because you bought it to
yeah.
begin with. So good job.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to watch the roof being put back on the barn, it's on LCTV on demand. It's real quick.
Yeah.
It
Didn't take long to put
It
it
wasn't,
Yeah.
it was kind of anticlimactic, because it just went up and over and they put it on.
Yeah, when you have a big crane, things are easy.
Yeah. What was next one?
So to
Oh,
Jeff's point of the water department now having complete control over that money, isn't there aren't they trying to get that adjusted?
I don't know, the cell phone towers, do you know anything into
That
it?
it has to be budgeted properly or something, have to go,
It's not necessarily tied to like the open space tower money, but yeah,
It was I don't know the details, as I understand it, was a DOR
Hmm,
accounting determination. Frankly, I think we could consider just saying, no, we're not gonna do it that way, and we're gonna go back to the old way and see what they do. It wasn't like there was a law, they just said this is the practice
you know.
that you should follow.
oh, with like the open space money for the cell towers being
Maybe
put that
cell towers
special.
being
right.
too.
Yeah, that was interesting when that popped up, but I think we were gonna maybe go after special legislation down the road,
Okay.
the Creighton account.
But that was when, Mr. Benjamin was here, and has that been dropped since she left, you know?
I haven't heard anything about it since, well, for a little bit.
Okay,
Maybe
maybe it
it's-
needs to be,
Maybe it needs to be, somebody needs to be prodded again. And we'll find FinCom, do we bring it up during our? I don't know who would be who would be the
Yeah,
wrangler of that, whether it would be, I would think it would be finance and town administrator, I don't know.
I agree. Yeah. And, this is the time to bring it up when people are using Long Lake and enjoying it and, anyway.
Yeah. We can ruffle some feathers, okay?
I'll get it back to the original intent.
Right,
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, I don't think it should go to the water department. I mean, for their use.
I don't know if it's necessarily going to them or if they just have less money to play with now.
Well, the rent goes somewhere, the cell tower, I don't know. I don't know, but,
well, it was Newtown Hill that that was what was coming through the CPA account was the Newtown Hill. Do they still even get rent money for that? One of them's gone, right?
I know that the usage or the need for them, I think, has kind of diminished in a lot of
Okay.
areas, so maybe that's.
maybe it's part of it. I know they built a new cell tower over by the Rod and Gun Club, within the last couple of years.
Yeah,
There was one in the cemetery. Well, do you know about that one?
we don't have one in the cemetery, but,
Well, it was permitted though.
was it?
Maybe they didn't build it. Yeah, because it was in Board of Appeals,
Oh, wow.
because that neighbor bought it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I hadn't heard anything about that.
Okay. I mean, this would have been past 5 years ago.
Mm.
So.
Okay.
Well, should ask the question.
I will, probably be looking into doing, something at the Frog Pond next to Long Lake, through us, probably for not the fall time meeting, but the springtime meeting, just to repair that walkway over there and to do some, invasive plant control, but I'm gonna work with Amy and, see about getting something started. It's just getting worse and worse, and somebody's gonna break their leg walking through there, it's bad.
But you don't think until spring?
I think it'll be a little difficult to get it on, in time for,
We're only 2 months away from
Yeah,
the
I know,
warrant.
it's coming up so quick.
yeah, it is just about to, I think it's September 14th.
Yeah.
It's going crazy. Okay. By the time you get the money, you wouldn't be able to do anything anyways in the middle of the winter. Well, the way winters are lately, maybe you could. Okay. What's next on our?
Ongoing discussion of fiscal 25 budget.
Yeah, I just leave that on just so we can always talk about money, but I don't have anything new. I haven't heard from Steve Venuti on anything.
And then the next is code of conduct adoption.
Yes, I was on vacation this week and I did not take my computer with me, so I missed some emails and things to send out to you, but looking at it again, I still think, I think Linda, you did the same with historical commission, just replace the committee and take out that one section that really kind of was more for the select board. And then-
Yeah, did we discuss that section at with CPC? I can't remember.
Briefly,
We discussed it or are discussing it in planning board. You're right. There's one sort of middle section it's tailored to the select board and it has to do with the responsibility to rope in the administration. And I was a little confused about it. And that's one thing I was talking with Ruben at that time, and Ron was there. And anyway, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's pretty, and most of it's just be nice to one another, respect
Yeah.
each other. Don't, and which I know in our board, that's timely.
Mhm.
So, anyway.
Yes. Yeah, so I think for I will mark it up, and if anyone has any suggestions, but I think it's fairly easy and we
Yeah,
can just,
I
I think
agree.
at the next meeting we'll. for sure. And then is the preservation plan next?
Yes. Oh, no, actually, oh, yeah, no, preservation plan.
Okay. I don't know if anyone had a chance to kind of go through it, and Mitt and I were talking briefly before the meeting about exactly how we want to approach this. He sent another document to me, which I didn't get mailed out, which I will have to. I went through and I kind of just did a lot of, like putting recreation in, because this was done before that recreation piece. And I had thought that Littleton always by policy, but I don't see it in here, considered recreation its own separate bucket. I mean, we do,
Yeah.
but I think if we want to, I think that should be in here somewhere, because technically, by CPA legislation, it's open space and recreation. But we tend to make it its own reserve.
I was really impressed with the existing one. And it was the type of thing with the code of conduct, for instance, Keith Bergman is the contact. And we might want to consider not putting a name.
But I had that exact.
Yeah, the town administrator.
And I think actually it was last time they wanted to go to the clerk's office,
Yeah.
and the clerk was collecting them, so we could probably even just change that to the clerk's office.
But it talks about the blended funds. So you're saying you would add open space and recreation under the allocation of funds?
Yes,
But
and
we also have
and
Undesignated, which is mentioned in here.
It is.
Yeah.
And they're calling additional blended funds 2% funds? Is that what we're trying to get to 2%?
No, we're trying to add 2%, 1 + 2 = 3.
Okay. So, okay,
If there's enough money to put in
yeah,
that additional 2% and get us up to 3%, that's the best outcome.
Yeah, we could almost say 2%, and then in parentheses, put blended funds. Because I stumbled over that paragraph myself, in fact, I had to scratch things out. The allocation of the matching funds on the 2% funds, so that we put the blended funds, I think it would make more sense.
and we do, these designated private funds or gifts do go into, like a developer fee or something goes into the blended funds.
Yeah.
I
was a little I think we're on page 7 right now. The second paragraph on the top, the 2% funds, and then I think with the matching funds shall be predetermined jointly by the CPC, Board of Selectmen, and Finance Committee. But why?
To the 2% funds?
Yeah, the second paragraph says 2% blended funds appropriated by town meeting for the addition to the CPA fund and are not designated for any project shall be allocated across categories or into designated category by vote of the CPC, which we do, meeting the minimum requirements. Such allocations, as well as the allocation of additional state matching funds, shall be predetermined jointly by the CPC, Board of Selectmen, and Finance Committee.
It's interesting.
That doesn't bother me though, because the way that the 2% funds come to us is through
Well, that's,
the
yeah,
finance committee decisions and the board of selectmen's priorities and.
but, you know, I think, okay, I see that.
I mean, I think that's the way it's working now.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because they're the ones that are gonna find those.
They're pushing this money
for
toward us
Yeah.
for, you know, with a specific purpose.
Is this,
Yeah.
this is Mitt, speaking remotely. Thanks, everybody. Is this, when you mentioned page 7, is that on the community preservation plan?
Yes,
Right, good. So I wonder if this is something that will get clarified when we decide what our savings and spending plan looks like, because this is something that is inherent to that.
right. Yes. I get
So
that.
is this, speaking of which, Carolyn, do you have a place where a section where you think our savings and spendings plan could be inserted so that it was part of a larger seamless document?
Well, I think on page 5, on the copy that I have anyways, it says fund allotment policy approved by the community preservation. I think that is what Mitt's referring to is back, I think it was in 2016, we came up with a savings and spending policy. We worked on, of course, nobody can find a copy, but Mitt found something on his hard drive, which I will email to everyone after. And I was trying to figure out if it had been incorporated into here, but if it did, that was a long document.
Yeah.
And it seems more than this, just this little section. And that has to do with, you know, how we allocate buckets and
Is that somehow incorporate? I know we had come up with a policy where we were gonna wait until the end of like the cycle and review all projects together. And then like decide which projects were gonna get funded instead of like a first come, first serve.
I think maybe, and that was on the back, one of the back pages, the schedule, which didn't work, but it was also, I think part of it was, and this came out when, I think it was the 300 King Street project. Park and Rec had 2 huge projects, one right after the other, that kind of just wiped out the CPA funding. And everybody was up in arms about it, and that's kind of when they started saying, you know, we need to save some of the money, not just, you know, spend it all. And I think what the savings and spending plan was supposed to do is like, in Mitt's document, you'll see is like dividing each bucket into 2, like one for small projects that we do one off. And then a pot that we keep for tennis court projects or open
Land
space.
acquisition.
Right. It's just whether that's a lot of accounting work and if it's really necessary.
Well, that
for our-
seems like it would be this fund allotment policy.
Yeah, I think that's really.
And maybe you could just refer to that. Well, it says approved by the Community Preservation Committee, so.
I wonder if it was actually approved because the date of approval seems to have like an XX.
I know it, and I think it was because I think I had to look it up for someone once, and there was, in fact, I think Linda and Mitt and I were looking for the actual document, and we couldn't find the document, but we found where it had been approved, and I think it was around that time. We were looking for like the electronic copy.
Well, have you sent this out yet?
I have not yet.
So when
no.
you send it out, well, you know, maybe
Yeah,
next meeting we
we'll
talk
send it
about it. And, you know, but it seems, Mitt, that would be the place, maybe that it would go in and maybe we would just change the date to whatever. So this is a process that pretty much people keep in their heads.
Yeah, I mean, this should be posted to our section on the website for
I think that's a well-intentioned process though,
Yeah.
to keep significant funds, available for significant projects.
Absolutely. And do we wanna incorporate, I know for like nonprofits, moving forward, we're gonna have MOUs. in
Yeah,
place.
Yeah, the grant process, yes, we should put that in. Grant process.
Like anybody that isn't a town agency or
Mhm.
entity,
Okay, when have they been used recently?
the Affordable Housing Trust.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
right.
And like if the society needed
Yeah.
money or like conservation trusts, a nonprofit that, would have a qualifying purpose, like land preservation or historical preservation. I think it's pretty rare that we do.
Yeah, we haven't had that many, but I think it's good, it's good practice, it's what they expect of.
Well, early on, before my time, that they made it for the Congregational Church,
Yeah, did we do a,
the windows, one set of windows.
grant process for that or not, but,
Grant,
but yes.
Yeah.
money was designated.
Yeah, yeah, so,
Appropriated.
right, good, private,
There definitely wasn't like an MOU though saying like you need to complete this work by this date, give regular updates, the money can only be used for X, Y, and Z and specifics for the project.
yeah,
But yeah, if anything else came up like that with the nonprofit,
Yeah.
yeah, we should probably have
yeah, so we should put a whole section in about that. Yeah, let's do that.
So then I'm looking at the decision guidelines, page 8, and they refer to recreation. So,
Yeah, which is funny because, oh yeah, and you can see it says new at the bottom.
okay, so, that could
Yeah,
be taken out. I mean, the new,
yeah, that's right, because it's not, in 2012, that's kind of not old news.
12 years ago.
Yeah,
It's hard to believe 12 years
Yeah,
ago.
that's
Oh my
amazing.
gosh.
And some of you guys have been on this committee that long, or?
Mitt, I think Mitt's our elder statesman.
He's the gray beard, literally.
Literally and figuratively, yes,
Admit, I think you've been on since the beginning, haven't you?
No, not quite.
but almost. Yeah, and then in the back,
Well,
there
yeah,
were,
but you're, go ahead.
in the back, like page 10, page 11, there was, like the open space and rec plan that's been updated. This is 2003. It's been updated twice since then.
We can add
Well, we
21 years to it.
Yeah, we updated it this year, yeah.
And then like Conservation Commission, Historical Park and Rec, those were just pretty much mission statements, which,
And I think we've actually reworked the Concom mission
oh,
statement.
okay.
I think it's right on the website if we wanted to
Yeah.
see it from there.
Yeah, this is Mitt. Some of the document, maybe it's already been pared down a little bit, but a lot of the references at the end are sort of there as appendices, if you will, that we can, and they definitely need updating as other committees are changing their policies and stuff, or plans get resubmitted. But I think it allows us something to point to when an applicant is there. That we can say, this will help you understand our mission and where the things that you're proposing are legal or not, or preferable or not. But they don't really constitute policy. There are some reference things.
Right.
Are they still in there? A couple of pages at the end, the open space
Yes.
plan or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Open
Yeah.
space,
And the master plan, which is,
So, maybe that doesn't need to be there at all because nobody's reading it. If nobody's reading it, then it doesn't need revising. So,
well, I think that the sort of glossary or the notes, planning board, conservation, referring, maybe just just do that, just update that. And most of you don't have enough. The Littleton Conservation Trust is probably the same. You just have to check the websites. But you know, it refers to the master plan adopted August 2002, and actually we're starting another round of getting funding for master plan. So maybe we just update that page, which probably wouldn't be that much work, and then eliminate.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
But that's a good idea to just put it in a index and people can refer to it,
Yeah, because those are the constituent boards that,
right?
you know, we are, I mean, all you guys are representatives of.
Yeah, and some of the language too, like land use, it says strictly speaking, Littleton is no longer a rural town with an agricultural base. And it kind of goes off in that direction. I'm not sure if that, you know, based off of previous open space recreation plans and the latest one, I think we would be more towards like I don't think the town would have that kind of opinion anymore. So maybe we could even strike a lot of this older.
Well, I think Mitt's comment was to strike that page
Oh, yes, yeah.
and then just refer to, and maybe the next page, and then just refer the page 13 notes and just refer to the website addresses of each of the groups, which
sounds
would be updated presumably. Yeah.
Yes, they have to double check that the links work, which they probably don't.
Well, because we just did, you know, the open space, and that was a big issue about how to think of the town.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how do the people see it? And yeah, I think the overall, like that opening statement that we put together, I mean, that's
Well, the planner had a really good way of thinking about that I responded to, but you know, it may not be universally. There are people who still think this is a farming town and just boggles my mind, but you know.
Depends on where you came from. If you came
Yeah.
from downtown Boston.
Yeah, well, no, I think it's mainly longtime town residents. But anyway,
Depends on how cynical we've become.
well, no, we have those aspects of it, but
Mhm.
it's not what's driving especially the finances of the town. So,
And then it goes into like the application process. I mean, we have the timetable, which we know we never get to follow. It's interesting watching the Westford ones. That's what they do, is they hear all the projects. And then they go back later and vote on all of them.
So they can rank them and.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, so, but they also have a lot, I mean,
How does
Linda?
Westford have, how does that work in Westford? Because we, you know, when we get projects, it's always like, we need to know, you know, the
Yeah.
applicant says, we need to know right away. So how does Westford avoid that, I wonder?
they get them in January. I think they have a deadline when you have to have them in. But we've tried that and I mean, we just have to be hard nosed and say, "Yep, that's it," but I don't see it working.
I think we have too many projects that pop up last second and then we're like, we gotta get this in.
I mean, we can have a schedule, but whether, you know, as a guideline. And so if like Clean Lakes, if they came and, I tried to say, you know, you gotta have it in by February so that we can listen to it and ask questions, especially the complicated ones. I mean, we've gotten caught a lot of times with, you know, the warrant closes on Friday and it's Wednesday night and we have this complicated project that we'd like to discuss and send back.
Well, the Webster Land was.
That's a good one, you know.
In that way.
And sometimes like Park and Rec have multifaceted projects. Like there's sometimes they, you know, compact a whole bunch of stuff in it. You'd like to parse it out a little bit, but you just don't have time. But
Well, I know in the planning board, we've struggled with that because a lot of applicants feel they can submit something 2 hours before the meeting and have it considered.
Wow.
And in the past, I think we have bent over backwards, but the present board is not willing to do that. And I'm not going to fight that because it is really unreasonable. I don't, you know, you have to check your email as you're leaving for the meeting.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
But at least if a new applicant comes forward, we can say to them, you know, here, oh, look at our plan and this is, you know, how we like to do it, but I don't see like condensing it any. I don't want to make it so that everybody waits till the last minute either.
Yeah, it's,
Well, maybe you could just give some guiding comments that, you know, because of the town meeting warrant schedule, unless you're,
Hmm.
and you want this to happen, you need to give
Yeah.
due time.
Right. In fact, I should email everybody tomorrow, like Park and Rec Department,
Yeah,
Conservation, say, hey, look.
and
you
Finance
know,
Committee. you know.
Finance Committee,
yeah.
right. We've got, you know, warrant closes on September 14th. We'll have one meeting. Well,
Mhm.
I don't know if our September meeting will match. I think it's right afterwards, right?
14th is,
Maybe 13 minus 7.
it's a Saturday, it's the second Saturday of the month.
Yeah, so at the third Wednesday will be after that.
Yeah, the 18th.
So technically, we only have one more meeting before the warrant closes.
Wow, that's
Oh.
crazy.
So we may have to have something. I don't know if anyone's gonna bring anything forward either.
I haven't heard anything.
But I will do that. I will email Alicia and Amy, I guess, and just, you know,
Mm.
I think it maybe we have to just be a little more proactive and, you know,
Yeah, remind people there's a schedule that everybody has to work with.
right. Because it's so hard to get 9 of us together on the spur of the moment. I mean, not that all 9 of us have to be here, but if we're hearing a project, I don't want to have somebody not be.
Well,
able
you
to.
also, I mean, what is the policy about the public talking? I mean, are they invited to our meetings to talk about?
They should be.
They should be.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, they should know.
So
ahead of
are they
time.
noticed then or?
No.
Okay,
It's interesting, like I think Acton, all their projects are done at a public hearing.
yeah,
But we should have like one last meeting for people to come in and talk about.
Yeah.
And I know like putting them out on the website, I did that, but I wasn't getting them until, you know, the warrant closed. So I said, well, if you want to know the projects, they're out there, but by that time it's too late for anyone to weigh in.
mhm. Because it shouldn't be town meetings if you're interested in it, that shouldn't be the first time.
Right, that you hear about it.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I don't know what to do about that.
Right, because even like putting it in the newsletter, we won't have time to put it in for the next,
Mm.
True, yeah.
you know, because there's such a, what else?
Yeah.
No. I mean,
We put something very vague in and be like, hey, the warrant's closing in September, the community
Mhm.
preservation may be considering projects, keep an eye out for agendas.
yeah, that's part of what we should do. At least get people thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, the attention, even if it gets them onto our page and looking at our
Mhm.
agendas,
Mm,
if you come to the meetings, I mean,
right,
I mean, basically on this plan, it was January 15th for spring
Yeah.
and what was it for fall? 6 months later or?
yeah, I think we had like time-sensitive projects will be considered for inclusion on the fall town meeting
I mean,
warrant.
maybe you just leave it there
Leave it there,
and
yeah.
direct people to it and say, you know, what's your story? Okay, we'll accommodate you
Yeah.
or not. You know,
Yeah, we can just leave it alone then. Yeah, and then it was like 10 copies, 10, I don't think we need 10 paper copies.
well, because they used to be distributed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't even know if we need one. I mean, I thought, we can print them out ourselves if we want it. I would think just emailing it to the town clerk I mean, because we don't have an email address ourselves and like John Folsom, I know him, so he sent them to me, which was fine. But
Well,
I
now we
don't,
have Andrew in the clerk's office.
yeah, I know, you get
Yeah.
it easy, but I don't think we need to have print 10 copies of stuff.
oh no, yeah, electronically is probably good for us.
Oh, that's so good.
So that's not a lot of changes to this document, which I thought
No.
was pretty excellent.
No, the dates and
Yeah, and
there were a couple little
environment.
grammar and spelling mistakes, but that's.
We'll put Linda on the case.
Yes.
There was one on page 7. The monitoring and responsibility of fund categories.
Yeah,
The CPC, on my copy solely is crossed out, but then it should read the CPC is responsible, not are
oh,
responsible.
yeah.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, in fact, I have a yes, I have scribbled on a yes, question mark.
oh, is that what that scribble, is that, was that copy editing thing was?
The CPC are solely responsible. Oh,
Yeah, and are we solely responsible for the proper? Yeah, I think it was the solely. For the proper
Remove.
administration of funds added to the CPA funds through any of the 4 sources. The town accountant will work closely with CPC in providing fund balances of encumbered funds within. So it was kind of weird to have it solely, so I can see why they.
I don't know, I think that's was specific,
Specific.
because
Should we do
there
that?
isn't someone else who can direct. You know, the CPC funds.
Yeah.
I was, in that section was just questioning, have you really gotten as much town support with accounting as you need?
More now. After I met with Michelle, I feel like, in fact, I got the balances the last time I emailed them on
Yeah.
Friday and got them, I think the following Monday or something. So I feel like we're getting a little more response with them. And then they've been here for a while. I think they're settling in. I think at first it was just chaos in the department. So no, I feel like we're getting better support.
And they understand the variables that it, sometimes there's some variables
Yeah.
in our. Well, our buckets are percentages,
Right.
not hard
Right,
figures.
so they have to figure out the hard figures from our percentages, so. And it's how it comes in and. It seems like it doesn't work, but talking to Michelle, not that I could explain it to you now, but I can see how they do it, so I did feel better after speaking with her.
The next item was public input. I mean, I'm not sure we're done with the
I think-
preservation.
But no, I think it's just the iterations of doing
Yeah.
it, maybe we can.
No, it's a great document from 8 years ago.
Yeah. And again, I don't have it in electronic form, so I may end up retyping it.
Oh, no.
You know, I'll try to scan it, OCR scan it and see. Sometimes that's
you don't have that one in
electronic form, I don't
the
think so.
preservation plan? I have it right here. Do you need it?
Do you have it?
How'd you get?
I don't even know.
Well, how did we get it? I printed it out from something.
I had this in my notebook I found.
Well, if I had it, it means that I was emailed it and
Oh, I think I
Yeah.
emailed you a PDF.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, mine's.
Yeah.
too.
so can't you edit
You can,
PDFs?
yeah, you can convert it into a Word document, and we'll see how actually, they're better than they used to be, so. I'll play around with that. And then, maybe do a little bit of editing for the next one, and if you see anything, or if there's anything from your boards that you wanna, replace or change, and I think we just, over the winter, we just keep doing it, and I'll send you what Mitt sent to me, the savings and spendings plan, and you'll wanna read it over before we discuss it, I think. So maybe we can put that on next time's agenda too.
Carolyn, do you want help with that? Maybe the two of us. I'd be happy to take some time
Sure.
later. In a couple
Okay.
weeks, if we had a sit down where we could do a little of the sewing the two things together, like Frankenstein, and you can be Frankenstein, and I'll be your Igor.
Okay. Yeah, that
Or
sounds
Igor.
good.
Igor. It's
yeah.
pronounced Igor.
Igor.
Frankenstein.
Yeah, all right, that sounds good. We don't have any public. Anyone else have any comments on anything that we've discussed tonight?
Nope. And the next one was minutes.
I had two of them all ready to go and I didn't get them emailed out.
Okay. It's okay.
I know, but the town clerks are gonna get after us, so I will have those for next time.
But they have an inside,
I know, we
they have
have,
inside eyes now.
yeah, I know, I know it.
Monitoring our every move.
Yeah,
I'm
I
so-
can't pretend that I didn't do it, but no, I will, we've got some to do.
So Andrew, you're becoming like a mushroom that sends out, it's like rhizomes all throughout the town. that
Exactly.
are gonna be, everything is underpinned by Andrew.
Yeah, right. All right, so our next meeting is the third Wednesday of August.
What's the date? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
August 21st.
Excellent.
I'll try to get that in so we can get downstairs. Anything else before we bless you? Linda, no historical news?
Oh, Linda,
Sorry, I was on mute because I have my an old air conditioner on. No, no real news. I submitted a brief newsletter article for the town newsletter on the barn raising at 12 Robinson. But I don't really have other news.
Oh, I have maybe, were you guys involved with Hager Homestead at all?
No.
No, okay. Well, we
Well,
had a tour of it, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Well, Linda was as the historic commission. And it's possible that in the future, you know, one of the sort of covenants about that project is that they're allowing a pathway from Shattuck Street to Castle on the Trees through the, you know,
Swamp.
yeah, whatever. I mean, it's actually,
Wetlands.
a lot of it's swamp. It didn't appear because it used to be mowed. But anyway, I don't know. It's a Conservation Commission issue. I don't know if there's any plans to actually construct this. If there's any plans to actually, you know, to put easements, but it's in the intention of that project to do that.
Yeah, and I do remember when we initially permitted that, there was an NOI, like maybe, it was a long time ago, maybe
Mhm.
5 years ago?
No, it was approved, maybe not 5 years ago, but at least 4 years ago.
4 years ago. And I do remember there being a walking path in back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we'd have to.
But that's not a reality. And it's really a really great thing because it would tie
That would be
these two
good.
major things together.
Yeah.
And the community there is interested in that. They want to be part of the community. It was very interesting. It's been a long time coming and it's just a crazy unicorn of a project. It's senior housing, is affordability, it's a co-housing project, and it's just sort of, they were working on it, they said 8 years since they
Wow.
first started,
Wow,
and, you know, so.
if we could get a walking path through an easement or,
Well, we're supposed to, but there's no one's gonna build it unless they come forward and get money for it.
it's probably a good candidate for a boardwalk, right?
I don't think so. There's enough upland there to, I've walked the potential path.
Really?
But it's not all, I mean, there's parts of it that aren't underwater. So,
Depending on the time of year.
yeah, sure. But anyway, that may be, I don't know whose project that would be, Conservation Commission, Recreation, both
Undesignated.
undesignated.
Yeah. Well, it's good I mean, those are the kinds of things that we could put as long-term plan,
Yeah,
you know. Even if we don't even get involved, it could be something that should,
Yeah.
went through. to the swamp. Hmm.
Let's not call it a swamp.
Isn't that Turkey Swamp?
Call it the open land or
The
whatever.
open land.
Hmm.
Well, speaking of, a connecting walk to that is the one down over the hill from the back of the tennis basketball courts at 330 King Street. Who's,
Oh,
Where-
Brookview, right? Is it
Yeah,
Brookview?
Brook something, yeah.
across Conservation Trust land?
Yeah.
Is that behind Russell Street or?
Yes, it's going down over the hill from the tennis
Yeah,
basketball courts. Or some of us used to walk regularly to school.
Yeah,
well,
Can you even walk it?
that's the other thing. I mean, it could be used to walk to school. I mean, anyway, so there's a lot of possibility and, I don't know who's gonna push that.
those would be good projects, actually.
Yeah. The more trails for biking and walking. the
Especially
better.
for the kids, and you think of connecting the schools, have a safe way to walk.
Yeah,
All right, Mick, do you have anything before we close off?
No, but I do have a motion to adjourn.
Okay,
I second.
all right.
I already typed in Andrew as my second, so
Oh, that's fine.
Oh,
I cede to Andrew.
I move that the meeting be adjourned.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
With the room.
Aye.
Oh, we have to do a roll call because we have remote members. Linda,
Yes.
Mitt,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Sam,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
and Carolyn is a yes. It's unanimous. Thank you, remote people.
Good night, Linda. Good night,
Good
Nick.
Good night.